Hey guys, welcome to the line change, and it's over. Now, you're probably wondering, or rather curious about the title of this video, and I'm just going to say that it's over. Now, time of this recording, it is just before 12:30. So on that note, and on a more positive note, happy Canada Day to everybody. As you can see, I'm rocking the red. Please excuse the guns. It was a scorcher today, and I was obviously stuck in a hot kitchen for the majority of the day. So, but yeah, the title of this video, it's over. Now, as I just mentioned, it's just before 12:30. So in about less than 9 hours, free agency will begin, which means Brock Boeser in under 9 hours will no longer be a Vancouver Canuck. And that is why I titled this video, It's Over. Obviously, I did put out that video yesterday talking about, a potential Brock Boeser replacement in Jordan Kyrou. Obviously, that was a very fantasy-like trade scenario that I brought up, but I just wanted to do that video because it was something that I saw and it was something that I could talk about. And obviously it gets us Canucks fans, really curious about Jordan Kyrou. Obviously that's likely not going to happen, but it was still an interesting topic and it seemed to be quite the hit. So I appreciate that to everybody. But yeah, Brock Boeser will no longer be a Vancouver Canuck in less than 9 hours, which absolutely sucks. Despite me doing that video the other day about, potentially trying to trade Brock Boeser's rights for Jordan Kyrou, that was not a knock on Brock Boeser whatsoever. I still absolutely love him and think he was a stud over the last 9 to 10 seasons here in Vancouver. And this is obviously going to hurt a lot of Canuck fans that he's going to be gone because he was a homegrown guy. The Canucks drafted him. Everyone remembers Brocktober. Everyone remembers the Brock Star. And basically, the point of this video is I'm not going to read an article at all. I'm just going to talk about Brock and maybe share some memories I have of Brock Boeser. And I guess in a way, this video is essentially a, retrospect to Brock Boeser. You could even call it a goodbye video if you want. Promise not to cry or anything, despite the crying emoji in the thumbnail. But yeah, obviously this really sucks. That it's come down to this. Obviously there was a lot of talk around the deadline about potentially moving Brock Boeser so we don't lose him for nothing in free agency. And obviously that did not happen. I was watching a little bit of Sekeres and Price earlier, and they had, I believe it was Darren Dreger on the show, which, by the way, I'm a big fan of Dregs. I absolutely love when he's on the show, and I always try and watch the segments of when they have Dregs on. I absolutely love it, and I've been watching Dreger for years. Like, back when I regularly watched TSN, I don't exactly watch TSN a whole lot anymore. Obviously, I'm more in tune with guys on Sportsnet and whatnot. But I have always been a really big fan of Darren Dreger. So I do like his takes. And, he was saying that apparently there was something in the works between the Kings and the Canucks for Besser when it came to the trade deadline, and that they were thinking maybe offering a third-round pick for Besser. Obviously, the Canucks did not see any value in a third-round pick and wanted more. And then apparently the Kings kind of, rescinded their offer and backed out last minute. And then they go and acquire Andrei Kuzmenko for, I believe it was a third-round pick. So they basically chose Andrei Kuzmenko over Brock Boeser, which is a little bit of irony, at least in my opinion. It is, switching over to Kuzmenko instead of Brock Boeser. Obviously, that is also some big news that happened today. Andrei Kuzmenko re-signed with the LA Kings on a 1-year deal. I do not have the contract information up in front of me, but I do know it was a 1-year deal. And when I saw that, I'll admit my heart sank, because as you guys know and have been, a part of this channel and seeing my videos, you guys know I'm a big Kuzi guy. So obviously that was very disappointing to see that he signed a 1-year deal with the LA Kings. But at the same time, I expected that. I expected the Kings to take a run at Kuzmenko and want him to come back, especially considering how well he played in LA and how they embraced him, similar to how they did here in Vancouver. But hey, it's only a 1-year deal. Maybe next year. But obviously, I'll keep holding out hope that Kuzmenko does return and we do reunite him with EP40. Speaking of EP40, his no move clause as of 9 p.m. Pacific officially kicked in. So Elias Pettersson is not going anywhere. And I predicted that. I called it. Sorry, Trev. I know it's not what you want to hear, but no, not much we can do about it now unless they, try and get him to waive his no move clause. But realistically, I mentioned that, they were not going to trade Elias Pettersson because it just was not realistic. They still have that gaping hole at 2C, and they haven't been able to fill that. And it's looking like, from having kept, scrolled through Twitter, kept tabs on guys like Elliot Friedman, Darren Dreger, and Canucks News Summers as well. It's looking like they might be circling back on Pius Suter, and he might be their option at 2C. As it's looking like Michael Granlund, someone else who we talked about yesterday, is, the Canucks are not the favorites to land Michael Granlund, which absolutely sucks, because I was really optimistic about Granlund and thought he was like their best option production-wise. I didn't think he would cost too much. He was looking at $5 million over 2 years. But it's looking like the Canucks are out of the race for Michael Granlund, and clearly teams are going to be able to outbid Vancouver Canucks because of their cap situation. Now, we did have some signings today. Some Abbey players did. I guess I'll turn this video into a more than just Brock Boeser thing. We'll talk about, the moves that the Canucks made, at least Abbey Canucks wise. They re-signed Archie Baines to a 2-year contract. The first year is a one-way, or no, the first year was a 2-way, and then the second year is a 1-way. They also signed Max Sasson to a 1-year, 1-way contract. They re-signed Guillaume Brisebois to a 1-year deal, I believe. Again, I don't have this in front of me, as I wasn't planning on talking about this, but I just figured something we can talk about. They also qualified Nikita Tolopilo. I forget who the others that they tendered qualifying offers to, but there were some that they did not tender qualifying offers to. Ty Glover, I believe, was one of them, as well as Tristan Nielsen. Now, the Tristan Nielsen one kind of surprises me. And of course, they also tendered a qualifying offer to Jet Wu. So yeah, the Nielsen one kind of surprises me, considering how well he played in the AHL playoffs. And I thought they for sure would want to keep a good majority of that Abbotsford team together, considering they just won the championship. And I also just don't like the idea of, letting people go who contributed to that playoff run, not long after they won. So I've just never been a big fan of that. Now, obviously, it's a business. Another name that is not coming back to Abbotsford or even the Vancouver Canucks, for that matter, is Sammy Blais, which I am pretty dejected about. Obviously, Sammy Blais was crucial for the Abbotsford Canucks in this recent playoff run that they had, and it just sucks that he's going to be testing the market. And it sounds like the Canucks just didn't have space for him on the NHL roster, even though, and I'm not even sure if they even considered or maybe even offered him anything. Perhaps that's why he's testing the market, because, the Canucks never called, or offered him anything, which absolutely sucks, because that's the type of guy that you want in your lineup. Obviously you want a guy like that on your NHL roster because he shows that grit, that toughness, something, yes, that we added in Evander Kane, but you could have had more of that with Sammy Blais. And I felt as though that playoff run, he absolutely deserved at least a chance at making the Canucks roster. But obviously he will have that opportunity elsewhere, which, again, as I keep mentioning, just really sucks that we're not going to be bringing him back. But moving back to Brock Boeser, obviously there's a handful of teams that are going to be looking for a guy like him, and to have him on their roster. Obviously, there's been a lot of speculation in the last couple of days, about the Oilers. Not going to happen. I'm sorry, but the Oilers do not have cap space to sign Brock Boeser, no matter how much Oiler fans want him, as they obviously extended Evan Bouchard, which I still think that is a insane contract. Bouchard is getting $10 million over the next 4 years. I'm sorry, but that is ridiculous. And sorry, I'm just not a big Bouchard guy. I don't think he's worth $10 million. I think, and then also, if you really think about it too, with Bouchard getting $10 million, does that mean we gotta pay Quinn even more? Because that's the type of number that I'd give a guy like Quinn Hughes. I'd give Quinn Hughes $10 million, not Evan Bouchard. But so yeah, obviously, Brock Boeser has a lot of landing spots. People, as I just mentioned, there was speculation on the Oilers. Clearly, that's not going to happen. But they are not the only one. I've heard Boston Bruins. That one really grinds my gears, as for obvious reasons. Fellow Canuck fans can relate on that. I've also heard the Jets. That is one that Darren Dreger spoke about on Sekeres and Price earlier today. And I do think that is a good fit for Brock Boeser is the Jets. And he had a really good point too. And, there's obviously a probably really good chance that they lose Ehlers. So they're going to look for someone to replace Ehlers. And I think Brock Boeser is a really good fit as a replacement for Ehlers. And also, if you think about it, Winnipeg is a lot closer to Minnesota. So Besser would be closer to home, and that is something that Darren Dreger spoke about. And obviously, with Minnesota acquiring Vladimir Tarasenko, that rules them. I at least I think rules them out of the Brock Boeser sweepstakes. So as I thought for sure he would want to go back home, or at least entertain the idea. I think I've even heard some speculation about maybe Toronto taking a run at Besser, especially now that they officially lost Mitch Marner to Las Vegas. But when it comes to Besser, thinking about memories, of course, none really come to mind when it comes to. I'm having to think a little bit, as I, obviously haven't been really thinking about this. Obviously I was optimistic for the most part, that maybe, just maybe, the Canucks would be able to get something done and keep him around. Obviously one thing that does come to mind right now is the whole stuff with his dad. That was obviously very emotional, and the fact that the fandom, Canucks fans, rallied around Brock and his family around that time, as did the team and his teammates, which was very moving. And just him going through that and then still playing. Obviously, he struggled, as that's a lot to have, on your mind when you're playing a professional sport. I can somewhat relate to that, not the professional sport part, but I can relate to, losing a loved one. For those of you that do not know, as I haven't really spoke about it on my channel, but I have spoken about it on appearances, whether it's with Clay or Russell. I have mentioned that I lost I lost my mom, a little over a year ago, so I can relate in that aspect to what Brock went through. Losing a loved one, and more so losing a parent. So I can definitely relate to that, as I just mentioned. And, that was obviously tough for him to go through. Obviously, he struggled that season, and then he was able to bounce back last season, not this past season, but a year ago, when he had his 40-goal campaign. And that's another thing with Besser too, that you're hearing a lot of from Canucks fans, as well as insiders as well. They're mentioning that Brock may, a lot of people don't think he deserves, or rather, he hasn't shown that he deserves, the big payday that he's going to be getting, because of, he's not fast, he's slow, he can't drive his own line, and a lot of that, production last year had a lot to do with the fact that he was playing with JT Miller, a guy who can drive his own line, and a lot of Besser's production was because of JT Miller. And he basically, trying to think of the right word, he benefited from having JT Miller as his center, and feeding him the puck. And I guess in a way as well, JT Miller benefited from having Brock Boeser on his wing. So it goes both ways for that. So yeah, this video just talking a little bit about Besser, like I said, not going to be reading any articles. This is kind of like a goodbye. Obviously, I actually have I have a Brock Boeser jersey. I believe it still has like the Vancouver arch, which I absolutely hate, but with the exception of my Luongo one that has that same arch, I believe my Besser jersey was the second Canucks jersey that I got. So with the Luongo one being my first, Besser was the next one. And this was, of course, after we had drafted him and whatnot. So obviously I'm going to hold on to that. That is going to be very special. But yeah, it's just sucks that we were put in this position to lose Brock Boeser for nothing. Obviously, by the time this video comes out, and this is just wishful thinking, maybe he resigns. Maybe, this is not the end. Maybe it's not over. But of course, wishful thinking, that is just, just wishful thinking on that part. Obviously, when this video comes out, there's a very good chance he will have signed already. We don't know if he's going to take his time and just, look at all of his options, or if he's already made up his mind. So by the time this comes out, he may have already signed with another team. Who knows? But I wanted to take some time to just talk about Brock and the fact that he's going to be very, very missed here in Vancouver. It's been a heck of a run for Brock as a Vancouver Canuck. Obviously, we'll remember last year's playoff run, and Brock coming up big for us, especially in that Nashville series. And I can't speak about how much it sucks that we're in this position and that we could have a year ago, started negotiations on a contract for Brock a year ago. And here we are now, a year later, and he very well could walk for nothing. Obviously, there's probably this much of a chance that we still trade his rights. I still think that the Canucks should do that just to get something in return. But I'm obviously losing hope that they're even going to do that at this point. But yeah, I just wanted to come on here, talk a little bit about Brock. I also, at this point, might have to get myself some more Gassy Jack Art, maybe one of Besser, just to kind of like remember him. So yeah, I might do that. We'll see. Speaking of good old Gassy Jack Art, if you guys want artwork like that, you guys should go and check out GassyJackArt.com. As I haven't checked it recently, but he might still have his end of season sale where you get 4 prints and 2 of them will be for free. So you're technically only paying for 2. Definitely check him out, GassyJackArt.com. You can also check him out on Instagram at GassyJackArt. So, but that's going to do it for this video. I just want to jump on here, like I said, talk a little bit about Brock and just how much he's going to be missed, and just the fact that we're in this situation absolutely sucks for Canucks fans, and you hate to lose a guy like this, who's homegrown, someone that you drafted, someone who spent almost 10 seasons with one team, his entire career up until this point. But at the same time, Brock is going to get paid. And despite me saying, some people saying that he doesn't deserve, 8 million, 9 million, whichever. But at the end of the day, the guy's going to get paid. The guy is 28 years old, and he's going to get a big payday. And he's, at least in my opinion, and just him as a person, he absolutely deserves this. He's earned this. And that is one thing that obviously some people are probably going to be happy about, that he's going to be making bank. And unfortunately, it's going to be with another team. So, but that's going to do it for this video. As always, if you guys like this video, be sure to hit that like button. And if you want to stay up to date on all your Vancouver Canucks content, be sure to smash that subscribe button and turn on your notifications so you don't miss a single video. Remember, you can find us on social media on Facebook. Just search The Line Change. You can find our Facebook page. You can find us on Instagram at The Line Change. You can find us on X at Line Change Man. And you can find us on TikTok at the.line.change.po. And feel free to give us a follow on all of our social media platforms. If you prefer an audio version of this podcast, you can find us on both Spotify and Apple Podcasts. On Spotify, once again, feel free to give us a follow and rate and review us. It is, of course, greatly appreciated. But yeah, that's going to do it for this video. I just wanted to come on here and talk a little bit about Brock Boeser and just basically say it's over. I'll probably tweak the title of this video, to include, some of the other stuff that we talked about in this. But again, happy Canada Day to everybody. If you haven't, or if you are unaware, I will be on Kepner Canucks at 10:30, technically later today. So a little over 12 hours or so from now, I will be on Kepner Canucks. His live stream, he's going to be streaming for 3 hours, talking about, day one of free agency. There could be a chance I could pop on to Nothing is Perfect with Russell. I will keep you guys posted about that. There's probably a slight chance that might happen. And also later tonight, I'll likely do a little recap of day 1 of free agency. And then tomorrow, I'm going to go live tomorrow for day 2 of free agency. So be on the lookout for that, as we're going to talk about not just Canuck moves or, potential signings. We're going to be talking about, other signings from other teams as well. Probably the first time I really, dipped my toes rather into that kind of stuff. But hey, it gives us content. It's something to talk about. We can talk about hockey. We can talk about other stuff. Definitely join me on Wednesday. I'll be going live probably about 10:30 in the morning, and we'll see how long we go. Yeah, definitely be on the lookout for that. And once again, thanks for watching. And Brock, this one's for you, brother. And that Fanta pineapple is good. I should get Fanta sponsor me. Just saying, I ever since I've seen this pineapple Fanta, I can't stop drinking it. On that note, Clay, for those of you that watch Clay and are a part of the CCC community, question: how do you guys think pineapple Fanta would do in that ninja slushie? Imagine a pineapple Fanta slushie. I'll see you guys in the next video.